No, spot on.
Cool. So that's a great idea in terms of handling it, probably the majority of stuff that's coming your way. My other question is, what about the things that just absolutely have to get inspected? And now we're going to have to go to the physical property and make time for an actual tour by you, the appraiser. What are we going to do to try to manage that situation for everybody's safety?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, and the success of that is going to depend upon the number of occupants in any given home. So if you have 10 people living in a house, the success of that is going to reduce greatly. So, but I am still going out to properties personally, but I'm going under essentially these guidelines. So what we're asking, first off, I want to find out what kind of property I'm going to. Is it a single family? Is it a condo? Is it a 4-unit apartment building? So, this isn't going to be a popular answer, but I'm probably not going out to 4-unit apartment building because there's way too many people to try to influence a certain behavior that we want to see when we're out there. So it's not likely going to happen in my case.
Okay. Are you finding, or are you hearing through the grapevine that that's kind of industry standard, right? That multi-unit properties are going to be more challenging just because you have more people to try to herd and control?
I haven't really heard it specifically about multis, but just my own logic says that that would probably be a fair thing to say. It would be a reasonable assumption to make that. When you have, especially when you're dealing with the tenants who may not want you there anyway,
Right.
So
yeah, I get that. Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing, right? It doesn't matter which end of this transaction you're on and exactly what the transaction is. If you're going into my house, I'm a motivated person who's going to be like, tell me how to clean it. Tell me how to make space. Do you not want me here? Like, I can go drive around for 30 minutes while you do the tour of the house, right? But as soon as I have tenants, I got to get them on board with that agenda. Or worse, in the buy-sell situation, if I'm the seller, I got to get my tenants on board for somebody else, right? And so now all of a sudden, it becomes the proverbial herding cats situation. Maybe it's going to work out, maybe it's not. And you're telling me, for your business, you'd rather take a pass on that, and probably I could see where other appraisers would make that same decision based on what we're talking about and relative to the virus and everybody's health and safety.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the case, but assuming it's a single family home or a condominium, where you have kind of typical occupancy, anywhere from 1 to, let's say, 6 people per family. Basically, so we'll find out how many occupants are. So first thing we'll ask is anybody displaying any symptoms? Do they have a fever? Are they coughing? Are they sneezing? We're coming into allergy season now, so some of that the sneezing could be related to allergies, but it's still, it's still a reasonable concern. So we want to know, and so depending on what we hear, that's kind of a judgment call. So it just depends on what that's going to look like and how confident you feel that's not going to be an issue. The next thing that I would suggest to entice an appraiser to come to your property, if at all possible, arrange for the house to be empty. Okay. Very difficult with stay-at-home orders, but people are out taking walks during the day, and the appraiser is going to come out during the day. So I don't think it could be maybe difficult, especially if you have small kids, but not completely unreasonable to arrange for somebody to be out the house for about a half an hour period or whatever it might be. If that's not possible, they can arrange for, if the house is big enough, the appraiser can be on one end of the house while the occupants can be on another end of the house, and then you just kind of switch when they need to switch to kind of prevent some of that stuff. Keep the social distance requirements of 6 foot minimum. Maybe you can't go for a walk, but maybe you can hang outside the house. If you have a garage, maybe hang out in your garage. Something along those lines. This is where the collaboration of creativity is going to really come into place. It's not really necessarily for me to dictate exactly what that's going to look like, keeping the distance. So I don't know if I would be very, very specific about that, but I'm open to suggestions, and if it makes sense for me entering, then I wouldn't have a problem to what that is. I think one of these ideas that I didn't come from me, to be honest. I was out at a place a few days ago, and it was a condo, 2-level condo. He's like, okay, we'll be upstairs. Well, you come down here, and then when you're done, we'll switch. And I was like, perfect. It was a fantastic idea. As we got the job done. I was there. I got to do whatever else I needed to. I also arranged for them to make sure everything was open, so all doors are open, light switches on, so I'm not touching as many things while I'm there. That way I'm not transmitting to them, and they're not transmitting things back to me.
Right, that's an everybody wins sort of thing, sure.
Yeah, so just make sure everything's open, doors open, lights on, cabinet doors, kitchen cabinet, and vanity doors are open, so we can just kind of see if there's any damage or anything along those lines. And that's basically what I would look like. I'm one of the ones who is I'm concerned, but I'm not concerned to the point where I'm going to be paralyzed by the concern. So I will still go out, but it's going to really depend. I would prefer to do a desktop. If I'm being honest, but I will go out in those situations that where it's unavoidable. I've been out to about 4 or 5 properties in the last week, so
okay. So you're very carefully vetting every opportunity to do business in this market from the standpoint of what are your safety concerns? Can you turn around and get this done from an automated standpoint? Go desktop in that situation rather than doing the tour, and then only going to see people who are able to work with you in terms of the tour, and then put you in a spot where you feel as safe as comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at this point where I with the COVID-19 is that I think everybody is taking it serious now, and so everybody's on board and cooperating. So people are still, I get the sense that people are still trying to do business as much as they possibly can, and so I think every single person that we've seen in the last week has been on board, and it really hasn't been an issue to this point. So so you can still do business if you're looking to do business.
That makes sense. John, changing gears a little bit, I appreciate all the safety considerations and stuff that's going on.